I honestly don't get it. I mean, what did I even do? Seriously, can you tell me? Because Finn is acting like I don't know, burned his house down or something. One day he's fine, the next, total radio silence. It's like talking to a brick wall, you know? He just walks past me in the hallway, eyes straight ahead like I'm a ghost. A ghost in my own damn house. And the silence is so loud, it's deafening. I sent him a text, maybe asking if he's eaten, and hours later I get a single K, just K, who does that? It's so passive aggressive it makes my skin crawl. God, I try to talk to him face to face, ask him what's wrong, and he just shrugs and says, nothing, I'm tired. Tired of what? I haven't done anything. I'm racking my brain, going over every conversation, every little thing for the past month, and I swear I come up with nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. It has to be his exams, right? The pressure's getting to him, or just that classic teenage angst phase where the whole world is against you. It's like a switch flipped overnight and suddenly I'm the enemy. I keep replaying everything in my head and it's just a blank. It feels, I don't know, so unfair. I'm just trying to be his sister the same way I've always been and he's treating me like a stranger. What would you do? I'm completely lost here. It's this gnawing feeling in my stomach like I'm being punished for a crime I don't even know I committed. It's messing with my head, honestly. You know, it's funny. My friends, especially Jess, they always used to say, God, Selene, you're so lucky to have Finn. And I'd just laugh and be like, I know, right? He was my guy, my go-to. It was just our thing. Like if it was 11 at night and I suddenly had a craving for that specific brand of bubble tea from the place across town, the one that closes at midnight, I'd just pop my head into his room. He'd be hunched over his desk, lamp on, surrounded by textbooks, probably buried in physics homework that looked like a foreign language to me. And I'd put on my sweetest voice, Finn Lifesaver mode activate. He'd sigh this big dramatic sigh that I always found endearing, not exhausted, and he'd always go. He'd always come back with my tea, perfectly made, and maybe a bag of chips he'd picked up for himself. I saw the sigh as part of the performance, you know, the reluctant hero. It wasn't just food runs, it was everything. My laptop freezing before a huge deadline. Finn, help. My favorite dress needs to be picked up from the dry cleaners before they close. Finn, can you please go? You're so much faster. He was the one who set up my new smart TV, untangled my necklaces, and once, he even waited in line for 2 hours to get me a signed copy of a book from my favorite author because I was too busy with a brunch date. I remember thinking it was good for him, taught him patience or something. What a joke, right? I actually convinced myself it was character building for him, and I'd brag about it honestly. I loved it. When my friends complained about their siblings, I'd just lean back and say, oh, Finn's got it. Like I was talking about a personal assistant. It was my shorthand for problem solved. It made me feel important, cared for, and they'd all grown with envy and that feeling, God, it was like a drug. It validated the whole thing. See, everyone wants a brother like Finn, so our dynamic must be perfect. I never thought of it as a transaction, not really. It was just what he did, his role as my little brother. I figured I was the one with the demanding job, the complicated social life. He was just in high school. What else did he have to do that was so important? I thought he liked it, you know. Being needed, being my hero. Occasionally I'd toss him 20 bucks or give him my old phone when I upgraded. In my mind, that made us more than even. I was being generous. I was providing for him in my own way. God, how could I be so stupid? It was just the background noise of my life, the constant, reliable hum of Finn being there. I just took it for granted, like the Wi-Fi or the running water. You never, ever think that one day the person providing it might just decide to shut it off. Now that I'm forced to, actually think about it, there were signs. Little red flags I just walked right past because I couldn't be bothered to stop. I remember this one time, a few months ago, I'd ordered this big, heavy standing desk online. The delivery guy, of course, just left it in the lobby of our building with a shrug. So naturally, my first thought was, Finn, I called him. Hey, can you help me bring a package up? I didn't even say what it was. He came downstairs, still in his study sweats, looking exhausted. When he saw the massive box, his face just fell. It wasn't just tired, it was a deep, bone-weary disappointment. For the first time, he looked genuinely pissed. Selene, I have a huge mock exam tomorrow. It's for my scholarship application. I've been studying all day. His voice was flat, not whiny, just dead, empty, and me. Did I say, oh my God, you're right, let's leave it, I'm so sorry? No, I rolled my eyes. I actually rolled my eyes at him. I remember the impatient little huff I let out. Oh, come on, it'll take 10 minutes. A little physical activity will probably wake you up. It's not gonna make you fail. God, I even framed it like I was doing him a favor. The memory of it makes my stomach clench now. He didn't argue. He just grabbed one end of the box, his jaw tight, and we hauled the damn thing up 4 flights of stairs in the most awful, thick silence. The only sound was the box scraping against the wall and our heavy breathing. He went straight back to his room and shut the door. I just thought he was being moody. Then there was that other time, maybe a week later. He actually came to me for something. He sat on the edge of my bed while I was scrolling through Instagram, looking all serious. He started talking about college applications, about how he was torn between software engineering and something with game design. He was really trying to talk it out, you know. Asking what I thought, he was vulnerable. And I was half listening, just nodding and saying, while watching some stupid video of a cat falling off a chair. I remember looking up and he was just staring at me, waiting, his eyes so hopeful. I gave him the most brilliant piece of sisterly advice ever. Just pick one, Finn. You'll be good at whatever. Then, and this is the part that kills me, I put my headphones on. I physically blocked him out. He was quiet for a second and I saw his mouth open like he was going to say something else. Then he just closed it, shook his head a tiny bit, a gesture so small I almost missed it, and walked out. I felt a tiny pang of something. But the next video was funny and the feeling passed. I didn't realize I'd just hung a do not disturb sign on the most important door in my life. The night it all blew up, God, I can see it so clearly. It replays in my head like a horror movie. It was the night of my friend Chloe's big birthday party. It was a huge deal, one of those fancy rooftop things, and I had this perfect dress. The only dress. But of course, in my typical chaotic fashion, I'd left it at another friend's apartment across town after we had a pre-party fitting. It was already getting late, my makeup was half done, and panic was setting in. My first and only instinct was to call Finn. I burst into his room without knocking. He was at his desk, surrounded by what looked like a mountain of textbooks and notes. The air in his room was thick with stress. He was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. I didn't even notice, all I saw was my solution. Finn, emergency, I need you to go to Anna's place and pick up my dress right now. He didn't look up from his book for a full 10 seconds. When he finally did, his eyes were glassy with exhaustion. Selene, I can't, he said. His voice was raspy, like he hadn't used it in hours. My final for advanced chem is tomorrow morning. This is worth like 40% of my grade. Any normal person would have heard the desperation in his voice, but I didn't. I heard an excuse, I heard him telling me no, and I just snapped. All my party-related stress, all my self-imposed drama, it all just zeroed in on him. Are you kidding me? I spat. The words felt ugly coming out of my mouth, but I couldn't stop them. It's a 30-minute trip, Finn, you can't spare 30 minutes. I do everything for you, a blatant lie, but in that moment I believed it. I need that dress, this is important to me. He finally looked at me, really looked at me. And there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before, not anger, just emptiness. My exam is important to me, he said so quietly I almost missed it. That quiet defiance was like gasoline on a fire. It felt like a personal attack. He was choosing a stupid test over me, so I went lower, I went for the kill. You know what? You're unbelievable, I feed you, I house you, and you can't do this one tiny thing for me. I ask for so little, you're becoming so selfish, it's actually disgusting. And that was it. That was the moment. He didn't yell, he didn't argue. He just flinched, a tiny, almost imperceptible movement as if I'd physically slapped him. He stared at me for a second and all the light just went out of his eyes. He slowly closed his textbook. Then he stood up, grabbed his keys, and walked out of the room without another word. He got my dress, but I know with a certainty that chills me to the bone that when he walked out that door, he wasn't just going to get a dress. He was leaving and he was never really coming back. After that night, the yelling stopped. And honestly, that was so much worse. The fight was over, but the war had just begun, only it was a silent one and I was the only one who didn't know the rules. Finn got my dress, I went to the party, and when I came home, his door was closed. The next morning, he left for his exam before I was even awake. And then, the shutdown began. It wasn't dramatic, it was systematic. It was 1,000 tiny cuts a day. I'd try to start a conversation in the kitchen, asking him how his exam went, and he'd just give a one-word answer over his shoulder while walking away. Fine, he didn't look at me, it was like he was talking to the refrigerator. My texts, which used to be filled with inside jokes and dumb memes, became a depressing monologue. I'd send a long, rambling message about my day, full of what I thought were funny observations. Hours later, a single, sterile okay would appear, sometimes not even that. Just the 2 blue check marks, a digital tombstone for our conversation. He started eating at different times. If he heard me coming downstairs, he'd quickly finish his food and put the plate in the dishwasher, vanishing before I even entered the room. It was like living with a polite, efficient ghost who just happened to share my DNA. At family dinners, it was the most painful. He'd talk to mom and dad, laugh at their jokes, ask about their day. He was the perfect, engaged son. But when I'd try to jump in to add something to the story, the energy would just die. He'd stop smiling, take a sudden interest in his food, and wait for me to finish. He wasn't rude, he was just absent. He created a perfect Cellini-shaped vacuum around him. I couldn't fight it. How do you fight a void? How do you argue with someone who won't even give you the satisfaction of a slammed door or an angry glare? He just erased me from his life, but with the excruciating cruelty of doing it while I was still standing right there. I finally cornered him last weekend. I couldn't take the silence anymore, it was eating me alive. He was heading out, headphones already around his neck, a clear do not engage sign. I literally stood in front of the door. My heart was hammering. I had this whole speech rehearsed in my head, a mix of apology and, if I'm being honest, a little bit of accusation. Finn, please, I said, my voice shakier than I wanted. We need to talk. I know you're mad and I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry about the dress, about the exam. I was a total jerk. I was stressed out and I took it out on you, and it was a horrible thing to say. He stopped. He actually took his headphones off and looked at me. For the first time in weeks, he made eye contact, and I felt a stupid surge of hope. He just listened, his expression completely neutral, as I stumbled through the rest of my apology. I told him I missed him, that I hated this silence between us, that I wanted things to go back to the way they were. When I finally ran out of words, the silence stretched on for a few agonizing seconds. Then he spoke, and his voice was so calm, so devoid of any emotion that it terrified me more than any shouting ever could. I heard you, Cellini, he said. And I forgive you. The relief that washed over me was so intense I almost sagged against the door, but then he added the rest. But I can't go back. I can't be that person for you anymore. I need to have my own life, a life where I'm not just waiting for your next emergency. He wasn't being cruel. He was just stating a fact. It was a declaration of independence I had never, ever imagined he'd make. I didn't know what to say. He sidestepped me and left. Later that day, I was tidying up, just moving things around, when I went into his room to drop off some of his clean laundry. That's when I saw it. Tucked away on his bookshelf behind a row of textbooks was a half-finished project. It was a camera strap made of beautiful, soft brown leather. He'd been working on it for ages, learning how to tool the leather from YouTube videos. And burned into the end of it in a slightly clumsy but clearly loving way was my initial. My stomach dropped. I remembered months ago whining about how the generic strap on my camera was ugly and uncomfortable. I'd said it once, a throwaway comment, and he had remembered. He had been making this for me, and now it was just sitting there gathering dust, an abandoned gift from a relationship I didn't even know I'd broken. Last night I got the email. The promotion I'd been working my ass off for the past year, I got it. For a solid minute I was ecstatic, jumping around my living room like an idiot. My first instinct, my deep muscle memory instinct, was to tell Finn. He was always the first person I told anything to. He'd be the one to get genuinely, unreservedly excited for me. He'd high-five me and probably make some nerdy joke about my ascent to power. I grabbed my phone, fingers flying, and opened our message thread, and then I just froze. The screen stared back at me, a monument to my own failure. The last message was mine from 3 days ago, a desperate "can we please talk again?" sitting there unanswered. Beneath it, a graveyard of one-sided conversations. Seeing it right there in black and white, the pure joy of my achievement just evaporated. It was like a balloon popping. Who was I supposed to tell? My friends would be happy for me, sure, but it wasn't the same. Finn's validation was different. It was pure, unconditional. And I had treated it like it was disposable. I sank onto my sofa, the celebratory champagne I'd been about to open suddenly seeming ridiculous. The silence in the apartment was overwhelming, and in that silence I finally understood. I hadn't just lost my personal assistant or my errand boy, I had lost my anchor. The one person in the world who was always, unequivocally, in my corner. And his absence now is this huge, gaping hole in the middle of my life. It's a constant, quiet hum of a reminder, a background noise that says, "You did this, you are alone." And God, it's a sound I don't think I'll ever get used to.